He's removing the IRS. House alleges they received $40 million. Get ready for Bidenomics. Now, I said this some time ago when the House Oversight Committee announced that the Biden family did not just receive $5 million, but $10, $20, $30 million. And it just felt as if the number just kept going up. Well, what did I ask for back then? Should we just expect them to keep raising this number? Now, as it turns out, my question was answered by Chairman James Comer, as he's now saying that the Biden family received more than $40 million on this bribery scheme and even called it organized crime. Wow. Do you guys think that investigation should be done on the Biden family, much like what's happening with former President Donald Trump? Just comment a quick yes or no down below on that one. President Biden, though, doesn't seem to be worried, but is instead pushing for his plan for the economy called Bidenomics. Now, I'm sorry, but this kind of sounds like an exercise tape from the 90s, but all jokes aside, President says that the plan is working. Do you guys think that the Bidenomics plan is working? Have you seen it with how much more you're spending nowadays? Now, a shocking report has just been released wherein it shows that both the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI were aware beforehand of a possible problem with the Capitol during the January 6th riot. Now you gotta wonder, like, what happened and why weren't more precautions taken that day? Now here's something else that's really surprising. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he wants to take out the IRS along with different agencies, as he's saying that it's a corrupt organization. Wow. Do you guys agree with Ron DeSantis that the IRS is a corrupt organization? All right, folks, no need to wait. Let's get right into the facts. Also, for the very best way to invest in gold or silver, check out the links in the description down below of this video.
Why? When I asked you about Bidenomics a long time ago, you said you didn't know what it was. I said, I didn't name it Bidenomics. I didn't realize The Economist and the Wall Street Journal did. But I think it's a plan that I'm happy to call Bidenomics. And guess what? Bidenomics is working. When I took office, the pandemic was raging and our economy was reeling. Supply chains were broken, millions of people unemployed, hundreds of thousands of small businesses on the verge of closing after so many had already closed. Literally hundreds of thousands on the verge of closing. Today, the U.S. has the highest economic growth rate, leading the world economies since the pandemic, the highest in the world.
I'm not going to say anything yet because I want you guys to soak in all this information. Now, the economy is based on Bidenomics, and good gosh, it's working. So President Biden even posted this on @POTUS's Twitter account. Check this out. It's supposed to be a noun, and it means Bidenomics is about growing the economy from the middle out and from the bottom up, not from the top down. It's an economic vision where we make smart investments in America, educate and empower American workers, and promote competition to lower costs and help small businesses, end quote. Critics are calling out these statements from the president, and if we're going by his word, it may be true that our economy's growth rate led the entire world. But here's the tricky part, so give me a second. So imagine a car going from 80 miles an hour and, wants to hit 100 miles an hour. So once it hits 100 miles per hour, that's a 20% increase, right? But then if you compare that to a car that's running from a cold start and then reaches 40 miles per hour, the improvement would be like 40%. So we're not going as fast as that first car, but since we started from zero at the bottom, our growth rate can be considered higher. And so this is what critics are calling out, since it's sort of a play on words. But what am I talking about? Now, I have the best people to ask here in our community. Do you guys feel as if Bidenomics has improved our economy since the health crisis? Now, if we were to ask the House Oversight Committee, they'd call Bidenomics as the Biden family raking in millions of dollars from a bribery scheme that they allege that then Vice President Joe Biden took part in together with his son Hunter Biden. Now, James Comer, who is the chair of the committee, now believes that the Biden family may have received over $40 million from the foreign nationals in exchange for favorable policy decisions. He also added this, quote, "This was organized crime. There's no other way to define it. We're going to try to determine how much money the Bidens took and what role Joe Biden played in all of this. It's a huge puzzle, around 30 to 40 different banks and about that many different shell companies. This is an organized attempt by the Biden family to hide the source of money going into all these shell companies and to distract from the IRS so that they wouldn't have to pay taxes on it. And that's exactly what the IRS whistleblowers alleged in the transcribed interview with the Ways and Means Committee, that the Biden family never paid money on any of these wires that came into these shell companies, end quote. Unbelievable. Do you guys believe that the President of the United States would ever do something like this? Is this merely a campaign to try and steer our attention away from the many cases of his political rival, former President Donald Trump? You guys tell me. Now, speaking of the former president, he took a lot of heat for that January 6th, huh? But were you guys aware that the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security downplayed or even ignored a massive amount of intelligence information ahead of the January 6th attack on the Capitol? Now, this is absolutely mind-blowing, guys. So they had information about the possibility of something big happening, but they chose to ignore it. Or at least we're being told that this is alleged ignored. Now, that's a really bad look for them if this is true. However, if you want to make things worse, both the FBI and the DHS downplayed the threats as Capitol Police struggled to clear the building. Now, it means that rioters were already inside, but still, they chose to say that they're not sure if there's even a threat. Can you guys believe that? I mean, in fact, they've received multiple warnings, but according to the report from the Senate panel handling this investigation, these agencies said over and over again that there were no credible threats. I mean, what more can I add to that? Just let me know what you guys think of this report and if they were right about there being zero threats at the Capitol back in January 6, 2021. Now, from the FBI and the DHS, let's go ahead and move over to the IRS, an agency that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis wants to remove if he does win in 2024. So here's what he said on Fox when asked by Martha McCallum on eliminating any agencies. Quote, "We would do education, we would do commerce, we'd do energy, and we do IRS. And so if Congress will work with me on doing that, we'll be able to reduce the size and the scope of government. But what I'm also going to do, Martha, is be prepared if Congress won't go that far. I'm going to use those agencies to push back against woke ideologies and against the leftism that we see creeping into all institutions of American life." So the answer is yes. I believe the IRS is a corrupt organization, and I think it's not a friend to the average citizen or taxpayer. And so we need something totally different, end quote. Okay, well, there you go. Now, I'm not sure how he expects to have a government without taxes. I'm pretty sure he's got a plan for that, right? But at the same time, you can have taxes and not have the IRS. Like, you can just have some other kind of system in place to address tax collection. I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of other less expensive, less abrasive ways of doing that. I mean, all these politicians are running for office. They have a plan before they announce things, because why the heck would they make promises before they know what they're able to accomplish, right? So what do you guys make of today's updates? Feel free to get into the conversation in the comment section down below. I want to hear your thoughts. Now, while you're sharing your ideas, give me a minute to share mine. The road to financial freedom really shouldn't be this difficult. Like, I get that times are very different right now, but it shouldn't put too much fear into our hearts as we're getting closer to a drastic switch in wealth. Now, if you needed a little bit of a push on how to get started on your journey, feel free to drop me some comments down below. We can discuss side hustles, small businesses, home-based businesses, and just kind of really up the ante on your cash flow by potentially generating multiple streams of income through these methods. Now, we can also discuss what kind of investments that I'm looking at right now, be it gold, silver, investments in real estate, or the housing market, the stock market, index funds, ETFs, or even individual stocks. But if you guys want to learn more about that, definitely drop me some comments down below. I'd love to know how interested you guys are. These downturns, they don't happen often. So, this could potentially be one of the best times to get into the game. Now, at this point, you should see 2 videos above my head here and here. Go ahead and click on those videos and check those out right now. Before I go, please do me a huge favor. Leave a like for the video. Share this video with your friends. Definitely subscribe for your daily dose of the truth. Appreciate you guys' support, and I'm going to catch you on the next one.